Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I'm Mike Daggs. He's Gerald Smith. This is Joey Ramos-Lynn, all the way from Mexico to join us in studio for the Week 2 show. Gentlemen, how are you doing tonight?
We're doing great. I'm doing great. You know, it was a great week 1 right there in the convention. Pretty much every game was close.
It was.
And then we have the Washington Trident against the Albuquerque Adams, 2 1-0 teams, 2 teams that made it to the playoffs last season, 2 championship contenders.
Great way to start off week number 2. Gerald, how you doing?
Well, I ain't doing so good. Why? Because I'm getting blinded right here by all these darn championship rings.
Look at
on
all these rings that
fingers.
we got in the house.
It's like, I don't know. It's a bit much. You ain't got to be so arrogant about
No,
it. Everybody knows you're the 2-time
It's
reigning
not too
champions.
much. We're actually, I'm missing one and he's missing one. There should be
There's
5 right
There's
now.
already too many on the stage.
They're still in production. Behind the scenes, our production crew, Cameron Irvine and Ron Haynes. Welcome to week 2 of season 25 here in the Simulation Football League. Excited to get this one started. As you can see, a little bit of a new look to the studio. I made a bet with Andy Hamilton right when the championship game was starting that if we lost the championship, we would hang a Canadian flag up here in the studio for the show this season. Even though we won the game, it seemed like the right thing to do. So we've got the Canadian flag. Now we've got all 3 countries that are represented by the SFL, up on the wall here. Of course, we still have Matt Wilson's jersey. That'll always be here no matter what. And a league banner, because now officially, finally, Gerald, the green horse did run off to pasture. It's gone now.
I really think you just took him out back and shot him because you used to live here. It was a safe space until Mike said, get him out of Gerald. We don't have enough room for him.
Somewhere in there.
And just,
It's in the room, just not on display. So, and a new casual look, casual Fridays. I'm tired of dressing up just because you wanted to look pretty. He loves New York. Comes in from
Confirmed. Ramos-Lynn is leaving Mexico City for Queen City. He loves New York.
One city's as good as the next, I guess. Wow. They do have more rings than we do.
They do.
We'll fix that. Anyway, let's talk about last week. A great week 1, like you mentioned in the intro there, Joey. There was all sorts of good games. There was actually kind of a lot of surprises because there was only, 6 of the home teams that won games and 5 of the away teams won games. There was a lot that were one score. Actually, in fact, most of them were one score. Florida Bossier City was only a 2-point game. There was a couple that were blowouts. Albuquerque just totally destroying Fort Worth. It was wild. Gerald, we'll start with you. What do you think? What was your favorite game of the week?
I think the most, game we didn't think it was going to go this way for me was Minnesota against the Chicago Warriors. They brought out a game plan. Look, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of bashed them in the show last week saying, I don't know how this is going to work. They come out, they throw up 35 points, ran a ton with a type attack to success, and they did good, and they shut down a very, very good Minnesota Legend team. Yeah,
they did. I mean, we both picked Minnesota. We both got that pick wrong. We'll get into the picks a little bit later on. It wasn't our finest week 1, but, hey, we did the best we could. Joey, how about you? What game stood out to you the most?
I mean, there were quite a few, but how about Florida coming back, beating Bossier City?
Yeah.
I mean, they were down 17-0
Yep.
early on in the game. And, people there at the convention, I saw Chris Komisak right there in the convention, Florida's fullback, he was like, what's going on? But once they got those first points, then Florida just absolutely ran rampant and just came right back in and won that football game. So very impressive win for Florida, being the away team, beating Bossier City.
Yeah, absolutely. And I already mentioned, Albuquerque and Fort Worth. I mean, Albuquerque had a fantastic season this last season and starting off with a bang. I mean, 35-3 over the Fort Worth Toros. Granted, it was in Albuquerque, just like their game is tonight, a place where they are 14-0 right now. They just can't seem to lose. It's just ridiculous. But that's it for last week. Oh, we did have one overtime game as well. Los Angeles Charleston went into overtime before Charleston got that last-second win. So we'll leave that week in the rearview mirror. But first, let's highlight a couple of key players from last week. We'll start with the offense. For me, my offensive player of the week from week 1 is none other than the Albuquerque Adams, Josh Slapp. Let's see that video. So listen, look at these stats. They're right up there. 144 yards on 19 attempts. He averaged 8 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, a long of 51. And you'll see some of these highlights. His highlights are so good. Bam, we got new animations this season. That's what Ron Haynes is doing for us. new animations to show some of those just running right through the tackle hits and some of the big hits that he had. The runs that he was doing, I mean, it looked just like he did when he was on Houston, but now he's paired with Williams over there in Albuquerque, and the two of them paired together just absolutely dominated in the run game. But really, Josh Schlepp, literally and figuratively, ran away with it. As you can see, officially that one was marked as a 50-yard run, but you could see the ball was on the 49-yard line. So, we'll call it a 51-yarder. At the half, he was the halftime player of the game and didn't even slow down after that. He just kept on piling on yards, piling on touchdowns, getting the second half started, running straight forward into the end zone, gets another touchdown. Get a blimp shot. I'm glad Ron kept that in there because, the blimp oh, don't shake your head, Gerald. They can't even see you shaking your head in disappointment. But, Josh Schlepp was always, Ramos, he was just an absolute menace when we were playing against Houston. We got wind that maybe he was going to be leaving Houston. We thought, yes, finally out of the South. What does he do? He goes right back to another South opponent. And, not only does that, but with that run game in Albuquerque now, far and away, the best running game from week one with those two backs. And, Josh Schlepp, the animation, again, just breaking tackles. How does that guy not go down on first contact?
Yeah, and I think, before you have a great running back, every time you have a good offensive line, your run game is going to be working. So if you see he gets past the line of scrimmage 2, 3, 4, 5 yards, and there's only one guy who's there to stop him.
Yeah. Looking
one guy,
scared like, oh, man.
Ouch. Yeah, and so one guy against Josh Schlepp is not good for the defense.
Yeah, and the thing you saw there, right? Like, it was him, and you guys already know, right? Him busting through the tackle like that. You cannot leave a guy like Josh Schlepp in a one-on-one situation because you're going to lose that a lot. He's breaking 2 tackles in some of the runs that we just saw in the video. So I can't look, and he was slapping the whole entire defense around. You can see that, right? Yeah. His name just is fitting
Josh,
of what
slap
he
your
did.
mama.
He just slapping all 54 of their mamas on that team that they played. And guess what? It shows right there how dominant he was in Houston. It's just almost it's now looking back, it's like, look, how big of a loss is this for a team like Houston? And it's such a huge game
in week one
for Albuquerque as well.
Right.
So is this going to get Albuquerque over the edge? Maybe they can play a little bit better on the road. We're
maybe
not tonight, but we'll find out down the road.
Right. Yeah. Because obviously, home tonight where they are 14-0. But what was it? They've only had 3 wins.
On the road, 3-11 on the road.
Right. So it's just a night and day difference, and this could be what, as you said, Gerald, gets them to that next level where instead of ending 8-4, 10-2, 12-0, who knows? I mean, the sky's the limit for this squad with a running game like that. It's certainly going to give defensive coordinators fits. By the way, we play Albuquerque later on this season, so start preparing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the entire South Division is going to be a struggle. Now, it wasn't the best week for the South Division in general. Only Fort Worth got their win because they played against Albuquerque, so one of them had to have the win. But I think the South Division will be one of the strongest in the SFL.
Yeah, it was wild. Mexico City losing in week 1, Bossier City losing in week 1, Houston and Fort Worth. For the division that was so tightly contested all the way right to the end of the regular season, 4 of those teams 0-1. But listen, week 1 is week 1. Gerald, we've talked about that many times in the past. Week 1's just kind of everyone rolls the dice, see what happens.
Hardest week to prepare for when you're entering the season is week 1 because there's no film or anything. Everybody changes some stuff up a little bit. You never know what you're going to see, but you got to stay true to yourselves. That's what Albuquerque did, especially running around with Josh Schlepp.
Yeah, Josh Schlepp, Offensive Player of the Week, 19 attempts, 144 yards, 8 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, a 51-yard long. Congratulations, Josh Schlepp. Gerald, who do you have for your Defensive Player of the Week?
Now, I know I'm probably going to get slapped around when the video comes up by Mike because I don't have a player for
That's what the segment's called.
The defense player, but I had the whole entire defense of the Denver Night Wings. Right?
There they are. The whole defense.
Guess what they have? The entire defense. Why? Because they played so well. And what do? They had 4 interceptions, 7 sacks, 8 TFLs. It's going to start right here with Blake Prine coming in from his safety position, running right in there untouched. Very, very good scheme by a guy that I think he's doing great things on defense. I can't say that enough. and Jimmy Hatsis doing what he does. Everybody knows I love his hair if you watched the show last week. And what do we do right here? Sack number 2 already coming around the end. John Martin so fast around the end right there. Nobody to block him in there so fast, being able to come in and bring down the quarterback. And what do they do? Look, they did I could do it from safety. They could do it from linebacker. What are they doing? Right here, right up the middle. 77, Gerald Cummins comes in there and gets in there. Not only did they did it from all 3 levels with the sacks right there, right? Defensive back, linebacker, and the defensive line. So what do? Here we go. Let's go look at it again. These 2 interior linemen right here, watch what they do. They split right there, come on both ends right there, beat their men, and get in there, and they each get a half sack to go in there with Saboka and Logan Gardner. Now, look, and this is the thing right here. I love this guy. They all know it, right? He is a guy, the field general right there. What's he do? Come around the corner, and Chuck Diesel making a play around the edge. Really, really good reacting to the play. And here it is. That's my guy right there. Jimmy Hatsis coming in there. Look, I can see him right when he caught that pass. He's like, I got to take this helmet off because old Gerald's going to see my hair blown in the wind. It'd be great.
His
right?
hair doesn't blow. It
Good.
stays like Lego hair.
Good stuff right there. But what do we do right here? Coverage sack. That's what you got on the end of it. Their defense was so dominant. Coverage sack. Had nowhere to go. Saboka comes in and makes a sack for himself right there again. And what do we do? Same guy. What's he do? A different route. Goes right up in the interior. Beats his guy. Again, a coverage sack.
Yeah.
Staying true. High motor. Getting in there. Getting a sack right here. And this is where it started to kind of go off the rails right here. Pressure on the quarterback. Luke Schreiner in the way to get his first of 3 interceptions on the day.
Yeah.
Getting right in the way and getting himself right in there. What do we do? Coming up right here, they're like, nah, we hadn't quite sacked the quarterback enough. So what are we going to do? Logan Gardner coming right through the middle, swim moving this guy, getting in there. Offense was in, somewhat of a hurry up, couldn't get set, and here it goes. They just had to throw the ball more. Quarterback getting off, getting used to getting hit and everything else. Luke Schreiner gets his 2nd interception of the day. And what do? We're going to cap it off right here. Schreiner does it again one more time in coverage,
Jeez.
right? Trying to make something happen, and they just blew them out of the water in this game. Denver had a really, really good scheme against a team that is used to running the ball quite good.
Yeah.
Right? And they shut them down in every aspect. They forced them in a situation they didn't want to be in. And that's evident from the 4 interceptions and the 7 sacks that the defense have had. So congratulations to this entire defense and Jimmy Hatsis for putting together a really good scheme, blitzing from all areas of all 3 levels. You don't see that very often. All 3 levels of the defense got a sack. So congratulations to Jimmy Hatsis and that entire defense.
Listen, if you want to ask Jimmy out, you can just call him. You don't have to.
He's my new man crush. I loved him with the scheme he put together. When I saw that man in that hair, I'm like, that's the best hair in the SFL.
Okay. Yeah. Player of the week. And Gerald's like, all of them. I'm like, okay. I mean, that's one route to go.
They earned it. They earned it.
They did. I mean, all kidding aside, I mean, you and I called that game, so we got to see it firsthand. That defense played lights out. The defensive line, the secondary, the linebackers doing what they need to do as well. It was just a solid total team effort. It would be difficult to pick any one player. Sin City really didn't stand much of a chance in that game.
Right.
Joey, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I love the creativity that they used. I mean, defensively, they had a lot of stunts. You see the outside stunts, the pinch stunts. You see a little bit of twist stunts as well. And combining that with blitzing linebackers, blitzing the safety, as an offense, it's very hard to predict or exactly expect where the pressure is coming from. And you could see the offensive line of Sin City was completely discombobulated, early in the game. I mean, by the first quarter, they just didn't know who or where to block. So great job by Denver's defense and just staying creative and keeping things fresh. It wasn't the same blitz over and over again. Yeah. So kudos to them.
Appreciate all of you joining us in the chat. I see all of you commenting, and there's these new crown things. I don't know what's going on with those. I'll have to research that later. I don't know if you chat the most, maybe get the most crowns. I see Miranda Dumas with 3. Justin Resides in there. DJ Kilgannon, Guy Clausen got Skippy. I don't know what Skippy's saying. I'm not even going to read that. We're just going to keep on moving. Skippy scares me.
I see DJ saying, confirmed Gerald signing with the Denver Nightwings before long.
Yeah. Oh, I see what she's saying. Yeah, I'm shoving Gerald's replacement right in his face. It's just because we called a UFL game last night, and Skippy was asking, did I replace you? And you know what I said? Yes,
Yes,
because he's
yes.
here.
I don't know. Like my head's on the chopping block every week. I'm on the hot seat, as they say.
It's fair. He's replacing you with Jimmy Hetzes.
Yeah,
So-
I know. Is my hair not as pretty?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Wow.
No,
Okay.
it's not.
You didn't have to maybe make it. No, not even
No.
close.
No.
You hideous troll. Let's get into this week. My goodness. My self-esteem is way through the floor. Let's talk about week 2. All right, we've got Washington at Albuquerque to get the week started, and it's going to be a great game, but it's also going to be a great booth. All 3 of us are going to be in the booth. We're all going to try to commentate the game together. I don't know how it's going to work, but we're going to do it. And then later on tonight, we've got 2 more games at 9:30 Eastern and 9:45 Eastern. We've got Bossier City at Charleston with Michael Trillo and Wade Phillips on the call. Looking forward to that one. And then Oklahoma City making their debut of the season at Minnesota with Colin Northrup and Rick Northrup. That is all later tonight. On Saturday, we have no games. There's nothing. Joey's got to fly back to Mexico, so we just canceled the entire day so that you didn't miss any games.
That's very nice.
That had
of
nothing
you.
to do with you. I'm just making that all up. But, at least you won't miss any games. Sunday
Especially
we'll be back.
because I fly back on Sunday. So
Oh, dang, that's
you
right.
Continue.
Tomorrow we're going to Niagara Falls. If you're in the area, stop by. I forget. Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, you'll be home. Arizona at Lexington with Chris Curtis and Jesse Long making his debut. So if you're looking to hear some new broadcasters, Sunday's the day to do it, because we've also got at 6:45 Chicago at DC with Eric Vinson and Aiden
Texena.
That's the one. 9 p.m., we've got another pair of games. Queen City at Houston with Cameron Duty and Stephen Mullinex. For those of you who don't know Stephen Mullinex, you must be new here because he broadcasted with us several seasons ago and then stopped, I think, a couple seasons ago. He's back. Can't wait to hear him back on the air. And at 9:15, we've got Florida at Los Angeles with Tyler Falk and Brett Solberg. Monday, at 7:15 Eastern, SFL This Week is back on the air, and then Pittsburgh at Detroit. Both teams 0-1 in week 1, but one of them is going to get their first win of the season, and one of them is going to fall to 0-2. Cameron Irvine and Charles Doherty on that call. As always, Gerald, what game are you looking forward to the most?
Bossier City, Charleston.
Yeah? How come?
Bossier City, I think, let a little bit get away from them last week, and even on the road, I do think, look, they might have to. They have the talent. But Charleston is a team who's, I think, up and coming. They played better than a record last year, so that's one of the games to watch.
Well, looking back at the week 1 show when we were making our picks, you said Bossier City would beat Florida and it wouldn't even be close, and you lost.
I did.
Joey, which one are you looking forward to?
Chicago, DC. Chicago, we thought it was going to be this kind of weird offense. It was more traditional than I thought it was going to be, with some of those quarterback runs sprinkled in there. So let's see if DC, with a week of preparation now, with a little bit of film,
there you go.
See how they prepare for it. Chicago has a very unique defensive style. So let's see if DC will prepare also for that.
I'm looking forward to Queen City at Houston. So Queen City won in week 1. Houston lost in week 1. Queen City, can they actually get some things going? Last season, they had some flashes of greatness and then some games where it just looked like they were lost. I want to see, this will be a big test going up against a team like Houston. Granted, they lost in week 1. A lot of good teams lost in week 1. Houston at home hosting Queen City. If Queen City can get the win, then it makes it look like, man, maybe they really do have something here. If they lose, though, is it like the same old Queen City? I don't know. We'll have to see. But on bye weeks this week, Baltimore, Carolina, Denver, Fort Worth, Mexico City, Sin City, and Vancouver. So a short slate of games this week. So fans of those teams, wait till next week. They'll be back. All right, let's talk about what our game of the week was going to be, and it's Arizona at Lexington. So we'll break down that game first before we get into tonight's first matchup. We've got a pair of teams that struggled last season, but they both found success in week 1. Arizona went into the home of defending champs and beat the Aztecs. Shame on us both.
Called it.
Oh, whatever. Nobody asked you. Actually, I guess I technically did ask you. They took the ball away from reigning MVP Jordan Sipe 4 times and held the Aztecs to a rare low of only 13 points scored. The defense just wreaked havoc on Mexico City. Jordan Sipe was under pressure all day. Even though he was never sacked, the damage was already done. I mean, he was just forced into throwing wild passes left and right. Lexington, on the other hand, they hosted Pittsburgh, and they managed to put up 34 points, held Pittsburgh to 27. Still quite a bit of points allowed, but they did put up 34. Quarterback Kenny Slider played particularly well, completed 70% of his passes, and he threw 2 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. He's going to face a much more aggressive defense from Arizona this week than Pittsburgh gave him. And if what happened to Sipe is any indicator, he's going to have a difficult time posting those same kind of numbers that he posted in week 1. 6th meeting between these franchises. Arizona's winning the series 4-1. Can Arizona win on the road in back-to-back weeks, or will Lexington defend their home turf? Gerald, break it down with Arizona.
Look, Arizona started their season out with a bang, which I called, might I add. Said they were going there and going to Mexico City and to come away with the win against the 2-time defending champions, for the 3rd straight time. This is 3 wins in a row you guys had, and 2 of those obviously was within the championship season you guys had. Look, their offense played mistake-free all game long. Fox Highland was really, really huge.
So good
on 3rd down, being able to pick up those 3rd downs with the throws from Massey Jackson, and that was her favorite target on the day as well. Brad Jones contributed with 2 touchdowns, and the offense was able to capitalize on those turnovers that we were just talking about, right? Being able to, the defense generated turnovers and they're able to play mistake-free ball and be really opportunistic with those opportunities they had. So, look, when you play mistake-free ball, good things happen, and that's how this offense was able to best that Mexico City defense.
And like I mentioned, the defense was just absolutely lights out. 4 turnovers and more. Talk about them.
Yeah, and 2 of the interceptions that they got, or the 4 interceptions that they got, was by the big dog, Sean Moore, right? Who, in addition to his 2 interceptions, led the team in tackles with 15 on the day. Very dominant performance by the defense as a whole, as they made it extremely tough for the defending champions in your guys' own houses. It doesn't happen very often for you guys that you guys lose in your own house, but they went in there. They were motivated. Eddie Gage is a very motivated person, even though we all saw that he was about to die.
He was.
Literally on the live stream. So, look, the key players I think for them going in this week is going to be Brad Jones and getting that running game going. He was still good, didn't quite get 100 yards, but they need to do it because why? They don't have DJ Moses back there anymore.
Right.
He's got to carry that load. And Sean Moore leading up front and trying to slow down some of that, applying the pressure and everything else, and playing the passing game like he's done.
Frank Doom in the chat asking why we weren't talking about Mexico City losing to Arizona. I think he needs to click the unmute button because that's what we've been doing for the past 5 minutes.
Yeah, leave it up to me. They're shoving the rings in my face, and they lost last week, so I can bash.
Rochelle Colston says she wants to see you on the show every week.
Well, it's going to be a pretty short flight, I guess, every weekend.
Just
back and forth.
Yeah, just fly up. Well, just take the Aztecs team jet.
That's it.
Yeah, just direct flights.
Yeah,
you get
those.
with
championships you win and buying these blingy rings. Y'all probably got a freaking Concorde jet, a supersonic jet now.
That's what's up. Joey, your thoughts on Arizona?
No, I mean, just a phenomenal game plan defensively. I really like, from a coaching standpoint, how they were able to put pressure on the quarterback. Again, they did not get sacks on the quarterback, but they were able to get on the face of Jordan Sipe all day long. Not comfortable at all. And then they were able to stop those running lanes. Ray Bentley, Jacob Morrison, Buford Van Dam, nothing on the ground. And they were playing sticky coverage on the wide receivers. There was really only about 2 or 3 passes in which the Mexico City receivers were, comfortably open. So love what Arizona did defensively and offensively. Ashley Jackson, no touchdowns, but most importantly, no interceptions. And that's exactly the recipe for Arizona. They have a really good running back. They have a good offensive line. We know the receivers are capable, and the special teams are good. So if Ashley Jackson can keep clean on most games, Arizona is going to win most games because of how talented they are.
Yeah, I agree. And Gerald, I know you picked Pittsburgh to beat Lexington last week. Lexington came out and surprised you.
Yeah, look, and they came out and surprised me with their offense, right? The run game was very good behind running back Deion James, who rushed for 112 yards with a touchdown, over 5.5 yards per carry he had on the ground. Kenny Slider, the quarterback, it was a week 1 best, 70% completion on the week, along with his 2 touchdowns. He also, guess what, threw no picks, right? And he had both tight ends, DJ Bandit and Chris Arthur, accounted for 8 of Slider's 14 completions. And both of these guys actually had a TD. So those TDs that he threw was to 1 tight end each. So, look, another offense that played really clean with no turnovers. And like I said, when you do that, and when you can say, hey, look, and Gabe Manning had a decent day as well. But these 2 guys here were, I think, the ones that got for it. Everybody's looking at Gabe Manning, and he's going to get his touches. He's going to get his yards.
He is.
But these 2 guys right here were almost like the X factor in this game, which actually put their offense over the hump.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I talked about it before with the score of the game. It was a one-score game, and Lexington had put up 34 points. So their defense didn't necessarily look the most impressive. They did allow quite a bit of points on the game.
Right. Look, and that's the thing. Look, but they came up big when it mattered, right? They only gave up 3 points early in the fourth quarter. And Travis Arthur, guess what? They were only up by 3 in the fourth quarter. Travis Arthur came in, picked off a pass. It was early in the fourth quarter, but guess what? Got it, ran it in for a touchdown, and that got the momentum, back in their court, and that's all they needed to almost somewhat cruise to victory. At the end, you see it. Yeah, they were, they won, but they won by 1 score, but it was a 10-point game, very, very late in the game, and stuff like that. So they were able to do that, and that actually changed the momentum for them, and they were able to kind of cruise a little bit, right? So for me, the key player is going to be Kenny Slider. Is he going to be able to throw efficiently like he did last week? Is Gabe Manning going to come up big and not the tight ends? But they're going to have to rely on their linebackers against this team right here, in my opinion. Philadelphia Collins, Iggy Turner, and the boogeyman himself, Tony Roberto. They're going to have to come up big to try and slow this Arizona offense down.
Yeah, it should be a great game. Arizona looked absolutely dominant in week 1. Lexington certainly put up a ton of points in week 1, but the defense a little shaky potentially. But yeah, it's sure to be good. Robert Thump in the chat. If Dags and Ramos swap spots, you'll get 3 different levels of hair in order.
That's completely accurate.
It is.
You have like none hair. You have somewhat of a head of hair, and then you got
somewhat of a head of hair. What?
Yeah. Well, compared to Joey, you don't have that.
This is just gonna be our show.
He's got the curly locks, man. He's got more rings.
There's a lot
of
hair talk here in this show.
Let's get back to football. What are your thoughts on Lexington for this week?
I really like how they use the tight end. I really like how they use DJ Bandit, because Lexington over the past few seasons, they have been most of just Gabriel Manning or bust, pretty much. Just give the ball to Gabriel Manning, maybe a couple of rushes, but their running game hasn't been anything of a focus. So they pass the ball still, but they give the ball, #throw it to the tight end, and it worked perfectly for the Lexington Miners.
Yep.
And putting 34 points against any defense in the SFL is very, very good.
That's impressive. Yeah, and Gerald, you and I have talked on previous shows at length about how in the past, Tulsa and then Lexington, they lived and died by Gabriel Manning. If Gabriel Manning had a good game, then they would win. If he had a bad game, then they would lose. It's a lot more dynamic of an offense now, a lot more pieces
it was really refreshing, as Joyce said. It's like, look, the way they used their tight ends last week was really important for them to have to get the key to success, and they played clean offense, no turnovers whatsoever, and they were really selective about where they threw. They're really efficient with it too. So 14 completions, 70%, a couple of touchdowns. I don't think you could ask for anything more from a passing offense.
Doug Day is using our platform to try and mooch free Starbucks from other players in the league. Not sure what that's about, but hey, kudos for the hustle. All right, let's get into tonight's game. First up here in just about 17 minutes time, we're going to get Washington at Albuquerque kicked off and underway. Unlike Arizona and Lexington, these teams both had successful seasons in season 24, and they also found success in week 1. Both of these teams 1-0. Washington hosted Houston, and they got the win 26-17, showing everybody right out of the gate that 10-2 regular season they had last time around was no fluke. The team played a relatively clean game, and they held a relatively powerful Houston squad in check. Albuquerque, though, absolutely dominant. Everybody knows the storyline and the fact that they've never lost at home. At this point, that stat's really starting to get pretty crazy. A perfect 14-0. How long can this home winning streak go? Not only is it a home winning streak, it's literally since the inception of the team. They just don't lose at home. It's ridiculous. But the even bigger storyline is what we talked about in the Offensive Player of the Week segment, and that is the addition of Josh Slapp. Slapp paired with Jason Williams is just plain scary. Slapp posted 144 rushing yards in week 1, the best in the league. Who posted the second most? That's right, Jason Williams with 119. They didn't just beat Fort Worth, they dismantled Fort Worth 38-3. And listen, I know I like to rag on Fort Worth, but I didn't even like seeing that. It was just like, man, I'm thinking about our boy Luis Gonzalez, and it's like, Poor Nacho.
Yeah, not the best of weeks.
Will Albuquerque run all over Washington and go 15-0 at home, or is Washington the team to finally put an end to the era of that home winning streak? Gerald, what do you think about Washington's offense?
Washington offensively showed up and aired it out a bit, right? They threw it through the air. Quarterback Tommy Utah, we all know where it came from. We ain't got to say that, but we all know threw for nearly 300 yards with 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Shane Kaufman had a great day as well. 7 receptions, over 100 yards, and a touchdown to go along. The run game, to me, left quite a bit to be desired, especially when you bring in, which I consider a stud running back, who's been underutilized over his career, by the way, and Dwayne Salmons, right? Yep. But they played well enough in the second half by outscoring their opponent 16-0 to secure their first win of season 25. So, look, they have the tools.
They do.
Now, can they just take it and actually take, something against an Albuquerque team like this and change that offense just a little bit? Because if they want to just live and die by the pass like they did last week, I don't know if it's going to bode well for them. So hopefully they change it up and, gear something more toward the run game.
Yeah, and defensively, they played a great game as well. Forced 3 turnovers, but it got even better than just 3 turnovers.
Yeah, and guess what? They very, very well in the second half. Like I mentioned before, they shut out their opponent in the second half, right?
Shut them out.
Linebacker Nicholas Warner, it played really great. 12 tackles, had an interception. A lot of people may not realize they hadn't been in the league a long while. He used to be a defensive back, transitioned to the linebacker position, and he's been really, really successful there. Look, they were also able to slow down the run game, who, in Houston, who historically has, in my opinion, they've been the premier team that just breeds really, really good running backs, especially over recent memory. So, look, and for them to shut that down, now they didn't have Josh Slapp, right? How big of a thing is it for Houston? But guess what? They've known for just coaching them, the running backs up, making it happen. So, key players for me is going to be quarterback Tommy Utah. Can he have a similar game as last week? I don't know. But running backs Christopher Dean and Salmons I think it's going to be important for them to slow the game down in Albuquerque and get that run game going and get those timely passes. And their entire defense against this Albuquerque run game we saw run last week, they're going to have their hands full, and that's the most important keys to victory for them.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about how the Washington defense shut down the Houston running game, but the Houston running game doesn't have Josh Slapp. Well, guess what? No rest for the weary, because now they do get to see if they can shut down Josh Slapp. And, Jason Williams. Joey, your thoughts on Washington in week 1?
Yeah, for Washington, especially coming into this week, they just have to just completely sell on the run, at least on the early downs, right? First down, second down, if you can get a team into 3rd and long, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, it doesn't matter how good of a run game they have. They're not going to be running the ball on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10 consistently. So it's about the early downs first and second down, get him into 3rd and long, and then you have a chance, because if you're facing 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3 defensively all game, Albuquerque is going to win comfortably. So that is the main focus here for Washington. And offensively, keep it clean, right? When you were facing against a very strong offense, you have to limit their possessions. Whether they have a great quarterback, their great running game, doesn't matter. You have to limit their possessions. So keep the ball, run yourself as well, use the ground game to your benefit, and do not allow Albuquerque to get the ball too often.
The only problem is, I think if they shut down that run game of Albuquerque, you got K. Marion waiting to catch passes.
That's true.
You can't forget it. I mean, the run game dominated in week 1, but K. Marion just like, I'm ready.
You have to pick your poison, though.
Yeah. I mean, you got to pick one.
If it's K. Marion, I guess it's K. Marion. But you cannot allow those two beasts in the backfield run rampant. No.
So for me in week 1, I thought Vancouver did a great job of going into Baltimore and absolutely dominating. To me, Vancouver was the week 1 team to watch, best team from that week. Gerald, I know you and I were talking pregame. Albuquerque for you, best team from week 1.
Best team from week 1, right? Because we know Fort Worth is a well-coached team.
They
for
are.
Them to just go into Albuquerque and just get destroyed, and they didn't score any points until the 4th quarter. Right? They were losing, so they lost 38-3. But the running back duo of Josh Slapp and Jason Williams, they rushed for over 260 yards on the ground combined, 4 touchdowns. And like you mentioned earlier, they have the number 1 and the number 2 rushers in the league right now on the exact same team.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, look, I couldn't get one guy to get anywhere near that stuff when I was coaching. Look, it's really impressive. The defense, like I said, didn't allow any points into the fourth quarter, and it was only 3. Look, and you know what's impressive to me is that they didn't force any turnovers at all.
Right.
They just dominated. They didn't rely on the turnover to get the points they put up, and they didn't need to get down to stop a drive. No, they stopped them legitimately without forcing any turnovers. Extremely rare and extremely impressive, which proves to me that they are a really dominant team, and they dominated their opponent last week. And for me, obviously, look, right out there, I know you guys mentioned K. Marion, but I think if they get that run game going this week, it's going to spell trouble in their own house in Albuquerque for Washington coming and visit them, because those two guys just blew the defense away last week. They're just untackable, and their entire defense is going to have to step up, to be able to limit those possessions, just like, Joey mentioned earlier, limit those possessions for your opponent, and then they could just end up getting another win.
Very seldomly do we pick the same player week to week, or even, anybody that we've already picked for an offensive or defensive player spotlight, unless their stats are just so good that you just can't help it. I know they've already been featured, but we're going to feature them again. I have a feeling that we're going to be bringing up the name of Josh Schlapp and Jason Williams quite a bit this season, just based on week 1. Joey, your final thoughts on this game?
Yeah, for Washington, Albuquerque kind of is going to be a great game. It's going to be, I think we're going to see very early how this game is going to go. I know that this is a long game. It's 4 quarters. We saw 17-0 comeback from Florida.
Yeah.
But if Albuquerque starts running the ball and we start seeing those 8-yard runs, 12-yard runs, 10-yard runs, it's going to be a very long night here for Washington. If they can stuff if they can stuff the run early, then Washington, I think, will get a lot of confidence, and they have a good chance to win this game.
The game's coming up in less than 10 minutes' time, and then we will get that one underway. I can't wait to see it. It should be a great one. I think Washington's got just as good of a chance as any to finally put an end to that home winning streak of Albuquerque. But first, let's get into our picks, and Gerald and I will make our official picks. I'd love to have you just make official picks too, but you're not. I mean, unless Rochelle gets her wish, you're not going to fly up here every week.
That's true.
We'd love to have you, but
that's true.
That would cost muchos pesos.
Yeah,
we got a spare room right outside the studio.
We do. There's a guest room right outside the studio.
You can just live here.
Yeah.
Or I can go just 7-0 here, and then you don't have to
Oh,
worry
then
about
we're
the
just-
rest of the season. It's 100%.
There you
win
go.
percentage.
There you go. All right. Well, in week 1, I went 7-3 in picks. Gerald went 5-5. Do you know you have never beat me in this picks game yet? I went 91-55 last season. You went 89-57, ridiculously close. But I've already got a couple game lead on you. It's going to be another great season of picks. I can't wait. So we won't pick Washington, Albuquerque. We'll jump right into the games later on tonight. Bossier City at Charleston. Who do you got?
I have the Steamers in Bossier City traveling to Charleston. Why? Because I believe in them. Why? Another reason? Because they're a Louisiana team. I got to root for them. My team ain't around anymore because we're just bad. So they got basically kicked out of the league. But look, I think Bossier City has it. I still think Charleston is kind of rebuilding a little bit.
Yeah.
But look, can Charleston win? Yes, because they can play very well when they want to. Like I said, they played above their record last season.
Yep.
So I think Bossier City goes into Charleston and wins their first game.
I'm also going to pick Bossier City. I went back and forth on this one quite a bit. I wanted to pick Charleston, but it was the roster on Bossier City is just too complete, and Charleston's I just still have some questions on, like you did, Gerald. So give me Bossier City as well. Joey, who do you got?
Yeah, I have the Steamers as well.
Steamers
so make it
as
a
well.
3-0.
All right, sounds good. We got a $1.99 super chat from Elite. Says, "Go Adams!" Woo. Anyway. It's hard for me to do those for division rivals.
Yeah,
It's
no.
like, but
We
it's
left.
fine.
We left before they had a chance to beat us up. So
Oklahoma City at Minnesota, Gerald.
I can't help but pick Minnesota here. I know they lost last week in a game that probably not many people thought they were going to lose. But Oklahoma City, based off of last season, they didn't do a whole lot in the offseason to wholeheartedly improve.
Yep.
So I don't think, and they're on the road, and I don't think they're going to go into Minnesota and win this game.
Yeah, they only won 1 or 2 games last season. It'll be tough to pick them until they show some of that consistency. I know Christian Bacigalupi will continue to yell at me for that, but win some games. We'll pick you. Minnesota's my pick. Joey?
Yeah, I have the Minnesota Legend
Minnesota as well. Arizona at Lexington, our game of the week.
Man, I do think they're going to make it 2 in a row on the road. Eddie Gage was motivated. Hopefully this isn't some sort of a trap game. Got all the motivation and heart rate up for week 1.
Right.
let's not sandbag in week 2. I do think Arizona won't do that. They're going to go in there and still continue what they did last week. You know what they did with you guys, kind of shut you guys down into Lexington and be able to win that game.
Yeah, I also am picking Arizona. I mean, for me, that was eye-opening. I mean, I knew it was going to be a close game. We saw many a sim go either direction, and all of them were close. None of them were blowouts. But man, that defensive line, it was very impressive. Lexington, they were impressive to me in week 1 as well, but not as impressive as Arizona or Eddie Gage. Always fun to watch him watching the game live in person. Give me Arizona. Joey.
Yes, Lexington's strength is still passing the ball, and it's hard to pass the ball when your quarterback is laying on the ground. So the Arizona defensive lineman, one of the very best in the simulation football league. Give me the Scorpions.
There you go. All right. So far we're all the same. Let's see if we can change it up. Chicago at DC.
I have to go against what maybe some people might think I might go here. I have to take Chicago. Why?
Really?
Because they were quite impressive of what they built together. No, it's week 1. Nobody knew what really to expect. I still think we're still early on in the season. I don't think DC was really going to know how to prepare for that type of offense. So I'm going to take Chicago on this one, going into DC and beating the Dragons.
All right. Yeah, I was asked by a Chicago player after the game, hey, you going to pick against us anymore? You just saw what we can do. Yes, I'm picking the DC Dragons. I will pick against you again because I also saw DC. Sitting there watching Jermaine Smith watch his game, Destro himself. That's another guy who was motivated to win, and that team looked impressive as well. It's in DC's house. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think DC's going to get the win. Joey, how about you?
Yeah, I have the Dragons as well. I have the
up.
Dragons as well. I think offensively, the DC Dragons are just going to do enough against the Chicago team. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Where we're looking at about a 30-27 game, I think. And but I will take the DC Dragons at home.
All right. There you have it. All right. Queen City at Houston. Gerald.
I got to go to Houston. Everybody knows I love Houston. I love Damon. I love what he does there. I do think they rebound. Queen City, right? We still don't know what Queen City is. We know they can win some games.
Yep.
But they're right on the edge of being like average to above average, and we don't know. And I do think a well-coached team in Houston playing at home, they are an above-average team, and we've seen it. And they play in the toughest division in the Simulation Football League. So Houston right here takes it at home.
All right. I went back and forth on this one, too, because I wanted to pick Queen City. We're going to Buffalo tomorrow. We're going to be right in their hometown. They'll always have a special place in my heart. That was my first team. But I got to go with Houston. Why? Because it's a South Division team. We've seen what they can do to teams. They're just too darn good. I think Queen City's got a shot, but I'm going to go with Houston. Joey.
I'll go with Houston as well. I think if the game was in Buffalo, I will pick the Corsairs.
There you go.
But Houston being at home, I still really like what they do with the running backs. To your point, what you were saying, they always find a way to develop those great running backs, and they've done it for almost 20 seasons now. So give me the Headhunters.
There you go. Florida at Los Angeles.
I still have zero confidence in Florida. I'm taking LA. They're playing at home, right? And LA looked pretty decent to me last week, right? They didn't look like the LA of old. They're starting to change a little bit of things, and I do think Florida, now they're playing on the road. The way, they started out last week. I mean, you can't get down 17-0 every single week, right? And it wasn't looking very good. They were able to come back, right? And how much credit is that to the other team for just taking their foot off the gas a little bit, right? But guess what? I don't know if it's going to happen this week. LA's playing at home, and LA's going to beat Florida. I won't say it won't be even close because I'll look like a jerk no matter what I did last week, but I think LA takes it.
I'm still going with Florida. I picked him in week 1. It was kind of a roll of the dice pick, and it worked out. Florida is still Florida. They might have a different quarterback, but they still have Ron Haynes. They still have Bullet Boletsky. They still have a lot of key players on defense. For me, it's just the more experienced team, the more experienced coaching staff, and I think even on the road that they can get that win. Joey, what do you think?
I will actually pick Los Angeles for this game.
Different.
Yeah, I think Los Angeles at home will be able to beat the Florida Storm. Now, I will not be surprised if Florida won this game, of course, but I really like what Sully Richardson and the Lycans are doing. Defensively, they played really well last week.
They came close,
and
overtime.
In overtime, if they get the ball, obviously it's maybe a very different result. So I like the Lycans at home.
All right, we got one last pick. Pittsburgh at Detroit. Gerald.
For me, I know Detroit looks pretty, man, but I don't know. I got to go with Louisiana North and Pittsburgh. Why? Because I think they got the tools they need to and everything else. They played pretty decent last week, and they let the game get away from them, right? So, but I don't think that happened this week. I think they go into Detroit, no matter how pretty they look, I think they're going to go home maybe with a little bit of blood on their dress.
All right. Well, Pittsburgh's played, what, 2 full seasons now? Is that
like
correct?
that.
They
Yeah.
have won 1 game ever on the road. 1. And I don't think that this is going to be number 2. Give me Detroit. I think they're going to get the win.
That's
Joey,
why the Louisiana North. I mean, we couldn't win.
we
nothing
made it
either.
almost a whole show without him talking about Louisiana, right down till the very end. Who do you think's going to win this one?
I have the Detroit Maulers winning their first game in Detroit, Michigan.
Home opener.
Yeah, home opener. And to your point, I mean, Pittsburgh just one win on the road. That's not a great sign. I really like what Detroit did defensively again in week 1. You know, sadly for them, they had the lead 3 points, and then, you know, they suffered the comeback defeat. But, you know, I saw good pieces of that Detroit team, and I think Detroit will take it also at home.
All right, that's all the time we've got. The timer is at 0. Let's get the next game underway. We've got Washington at Albuquerque. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you all being here for the show. This has been the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I'm Mike. He's Gerald. This is Joey in studio with us, only for week 1. Gerald and I will see you again in week 3 and beyond, and we'll see you down on the field. Don't go anywhere. Game starts right after this.